Hi, and welcome back to my channel, Short Story Focus. Tonight we'll be looking at the second short story to win a Hugo Award, and that story is entitled The Star, and it was written in 1956 by Arthur C. Clarke. The intro to the story in here has a few friendly, gentlemanly, joking comments by Isaac Asimov about Arthur C. Clarke's appearance at the time and his own in comparison. And then he goes on to compare something that I had really not thought about before, and that was that Arthur C. Clarke and Isaac Asimov were both working scientists who wrote a great deal of nonfiction material that was appreciated by a lot of people, both within their discipline and outside of it. As an author, Arthur C. Clarke probably needs no introduction from me. But on the off chance that you've never heard of him, I would recommend that you check out Childhood's End, Rendezvous with Rama, and the movie 2001, which is based on his short story, The Sentinel. But, like I said, I'm pretty sure you've probably heard of him. Perhaps you've never heard of this short story of his, The Star. So let's chat about The Star for just a few minutes here. The short story, The Star, starts out with our central character, who is a Jesuit priest, and he is aboard a spaceship that is traveling towards a star. I find the use of Jesuit priests in science fiction compelling. Jesuit priest shows up in A Case of Conscience, and Jesuit priests are all through, or something like Jesuit priests, are all through Dan Simmons' Hyperion Cantos. It's a compelling thing because you get the mixture of theology and science, and and of course the Jesuits have had a great impact on both of those things throughout the years. I will strive to not spoil any part of this story. From the second that I started reading this story, I knew exactly how it was going to end up. It wasn't, they didn't bury the lead in the beginning or anything like that. It's just that it's somewhat of a trope. And the fact that I'm releasing it on Christmas week means that I'm also, part of the conspiracy of that trope. But this story is very tenderly written and very artfully done, and it is really more of it's kind of almost like a captain's log recounting and explanation, and maybe the coming to of a realization. The main character in the story, as I said, is a Jesuit priest, and the Jesuit priest is trying to come to terms with his understanding of what the spaceship finds when they get to where they're going. I don't want to go into that too much because I really want you to enjoy this story. And once you've enjoyed this story, please come back and talk about how much you liked it or maybe didn't like it, or some of the impressions that you had while you were reading it. Because I found that even in just a few short pages, the story had a wonderful impact. Depending on the religious tradition that you were raised in, it makes it even maybe a possibly deeper impact, especially if you've put that religious tradition behind you, but you still, see it treated, with respect and scientifically in the way that it is in this story. So I really kind of like that about this story. The hero in the story is part of a spacefaring archaeological expedition, and they're going to a place to check out something that they've been curious about, and they have the ability of interstellar travel. All of that, of course, is just hand-waved in the story as part of their everyday world. Which is fine. That's the way, of course, we know that science fiction works. It's when they get there that the true revelations begin. I was reminded of some of the things I really liked about some of the archaeological aspects of Jack McDevitt's stories. These characters are nothing but cardboard sketches. You realize that they're diving into something profound, and so the main character gets to the place where they're going, and they get to a planet that starts to reveal things to them about a cataclysm, and that then presents the character with his moment of reckoning with his religion and with the nature of the universe. And what the main character finds when he makes the final revelation of the story is that the universe is truly a cold place. When you're reading this story, you realize that the grand payoff is really the reason that you're reading it. Sometimes a story will hand you things along the way, but this story hands it all at the end. And And so that is often the revelatory nature of the ending of short stories. There's nothing wrong with that. One of the things I really enjoyed about this story is that it shows a Jesuit priest in his greatest moment of doubt, which, you know, fits in very well with the Christ narrative and probably the focus of his life if he were a Jesuit priest. And when you come to understand why he feels challenged in this way, it really brings home that final sentence of this story. So, you know, this story has a wonderful build up to that final revelatory moment. And then it leaves you with a lot to think about. And that really is, you know, what more can you ask for from a short story? The conclusion of this very short story has a wonderful impact. And it's well worth the journey to read those few pages, because you get to see just a thumbnail sketch of a main character as he faces the greatest challenge that he will ever face to his faith, much like the character in A Case of Conscience. But in this story, he has an immediate answer. All of his questions are answered. Everybody comes out knowing everything they want to know, and when they come out knowing it, the main character finds his faith challenged. In the challenging of that faith, and in the questions that final moment of the story reveals to the main character, what he discovers is that the universe is a cold, mean motherfucker of a place that does not care what he believes. So that was a really good story, and I recommend it. Unlike the tomfoolery and silliness of Alamagusa, this was a mature, very good story that was written with considerable thought. And, you know, I would be happy to have written a short story this good. And, you know, the good thing about reading a short story like this is that it can be influential. I certainly hope so. Thank you for stopping by my channel. I hope you enjoyed this review, and have a good day.